Well, it's crunch time. In less than 24 hours, Edo State voters head to the polls in what could be a defining moment. All eyes are on INEC. The pressure is on for them to deliver a credible and transparent election. But with swirling allegations of bias and interference, the big question remains, can INEC pull it off? Observers will be watching closely, but will their presence be enough to deter malpractice? And what about the much talked about bimodal voter accreditation system? Will it perform as promised or become the latest point of controversy? Tonight, we will analyze the issues with our panel of experts as we break down the key factors ahead of tomorrow's crucial vote. I am Adesua Omoruan, filling in for Charles Anyogolu, and this is the Rice Prime Time. Welcome to the program. Well, in less than 24 hours, the people of Edo State will head to the polls to elect their next governor. This election comes at a critical time as Nigeria's democratic institutions face scrutiny, both at home and abroad. The Independent National Electoral Commission, the electoral body INEC, along with security agencies, are under pressure to ensure that tomorrow's vote is free, fair, as well as credible. Well, for INEC, Saturday's election is a crucial test of its ability to deliver on its promises after the controversies surrounding previous elections, particularly the 2023 presidential elections. Observers are already on the ground, prepared to monitor the process closely. Their presence will be vital in ensuring transparency and providing critical feedback on the conduct of the polls. With over 2,200,000 permanent voters' cards collected, the people of Edo State seem ready for the polls. Well, joining me to discuss these crucial issues from Benin, the Edo State capital, are Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, former Commissioner of Political Affairs, Africa Union, and Chairperson of YIAGA Mission, as well as Jake Epelle, disability rights advocate. And here in the studio with me in Abuja is Amina Miango, project manager at the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being on the show with me tonight.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I think it's right to just begin in Benin, where the vote will be holding tomorrow in Edo State. Let me ask you, I'll start with you, Aisha. What is Benin like?
Yes, please.
What is the temperature like?
Well,
tell us. Go ahead.
Well, surprisingly, the temperature is quite calm. The enthusiasm is quite in the air. You know, we were here in 2020. There were projections that there could be violence during the election. Those that were spelling doom were disappointed as the elections on the election day went very well, and increasingly people that had issues with the elections going for litigation rather than violence. So we have gone around with some local governments. From the local government offices, we were assured. I'm talking about the local government INEC offices. We were assured that the distribution of materials has been done, especially the non-sensitive materials. The registration area centers, the racks, have been activated. When we left them in the afternoon, they were waiting for the distribution of the sensitive materials, which is usually done in the presence of the political party agents. So far, the only problem that we foresee as per logistics is the issue of the transport. Because even when we left in the afternoon, the buses that were supposed to move the polling officers, the agents, to the racks where they are supposed to sleep were not there. And when we tried to communicate with one of the officials of the NURTW, we were told that they were having issues with fuel. We hope this will not be a cause of late start of the opening of polls tomorrow. But so far, as for INEC, we have been assured that they are ready. The materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive, are being distributed. We also have assurances. Yesterday we were with the DIG, Mr. Frank Mba, where he interacted directly with the civil society, the media, and other actors. He gave us assurances that there are enough foot on the ground, and that the police, the security agencies, it's not just the police, all the other, about 35,000 security personnel from the police, but for the other security agencies, another additional 8,000. So he said they have enough foot on ground, that they are neutral. They are here to ensure that there's a level playing ground for all the actors. As per the observers, I could speak for YIAGA. We've had our team on ground as long-term observers. Currently, in our 300 sampled polling units, we have all our observers there. In addition to the 300 polling observers, we have 25 roving observers that will be moving around. We also have collation at the 18 local government area collation centers. We have our officers stationed there. And here at the headquarters, where we are stationed, we have our 24 data clerks. We shall be deploying the process and results verification for transparency methodology, the PRVT, to ensure that we follow the situation closely. We have been deploying the PRVT in 2 previous presidential elections, 16 off-cycle elections, and we use our margins. Once the results fall within our margins, based on statistical principles, we give our nod. We are not INEC. It is INEC that announces the results.
Indeed.
But we are doing this on behalf of the people to ensure that everything falls within the margin. If anything is out of the margin, then there could be cause for concern.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
What we are doing on the ground.
Okay, great. Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, thank you so much for that detailed update of what is happening on ground. We seem to be hearing the right things, except for logistics currently. So let me come to you, J.K. Epelle. You're also on ground in Benin City. What is your observation so far? I mean, INEC has said they're ready. We've had their mock accreditation take place a couple of weeks ago. Sensitive materials and non-sensitive materials have been distributed. But what have you noticed on ground?
Absolutely. I think just in line with the chair of YIAGA, what she's reporting is absolutely accurate. But let me speak from the point of mobilization of civil society. I think there's a huge presence of civil society that have come in to monitor the election. For us at TAF Africa, we don't have the kind of resources that will allow us to do massive deployment, but we are deploying based on polling units that we have taken time to assess to ensure that, because our focus is on inclusivity, just to be sure that there are persons with disability at those polling units. Our interest has always been INEC deployment of inclusive electoral resources, and we have that assurance. The issue that we keep having, and I pray that it doesn't show up in this election, is that of INEC telling us they will deploy, and at the end of the day, you discover that they sometimes deploy, but it is not used. And so our pre-election statement today, we took time out to bring that to the notice of INEC, that listen, you have to deploy and you have to ensure that these resources, scarce resources, are used during the election. We've taken time to mobilize observers that we have trained and ensure that they do the needful by even sensitizing the community, just last-minute sensitization, assuring them to come out and cast their vote. Because the greatest problem within the disability community in particular is voter apathy, and we want to see what we can do. Let me give you numbers. I think about 2.6 million registered voters are eligible voters. There is 4,199 persons with disability who are registered voters, and hopefully they will. But this was the sad thing is the fact that there's no single person with disability who is contesting this election. You know, none of the political parties filled in any person with disability, and that's the greatest disservice to the community. We always have a situation where we are told to vote, but the issue of to be voted for still remain a huge gap. And our organization is working assiduously to ensure that we have more persons with disability contesting elective positions.
Yeah.
And not just that, but also to be elected.
Indeed.
So we are ready to move around. One of the key things that we're doing this year that is unique is the fact that we have a number of journalists that we have accredited, and they will be in the field to monitor how inclusive the media reporting, the media engagement, the story of persons with disability are properly covered and reported. So it's one area that I'm looking at, but also
Mr.
I will
Epelle, if you can hear me,
out myself going round to look at every aspect of the election.
Okay, Mr. Epelle, if you can hear me, thank you so much. I mean, what's a free and fair election if it is not inclusive of everybody? Let me come to the studio here with Amina. Amina has done a report on the perception of Edo voters and Ondo voters. It's about 35-page report, Amina, if I'm correct, a very detailed report. And I'm glad that we're looking at these elections through the eyes of civil society tonight on the show, because civil society plays an important role in voter education and in monitoring the integrity of the process. So as we approach tomorrow's election, Amina, I wanted to ask you, how do you assess voter engagement so far ahead of this polls tomorrow? Is there really a risk of low turnout like Jake Epelle talked about, apathy?
Oh, well, thank you so much. That question is very important. When you look at elections, even coming from the 2023 elections, we've always had issues with voter apathy. When you compare it to other countries within our sub-region, you know, we've always had the issue of voter apathy, whether it is national elections or state elections like the governorship election. So, and when we did the survey, we wanted to understand why we had the numbers we had in 2023. We barely had, we had less than 30% people coming out to vote in the 2023 presidential election. So that was one of the reasons why we did the survey. So when we came out, we had about 2,159 respondents for this survey, with close to 1,000 in Edo alone. And some of the questions we asked were, what is their perception of electoral institutions like INEC? You know, and they said the numbers were not good. Only about 36% actually said they had trust in the electoral process as it is. And when we asked what are the things that will encourage them to vote, they talked about things like the quality of candidates, and on things that will discourage them from voting. They talked about also violence, you know, and all these other things, ballot box snatching and all of that. So from looking at the report and the survey, things are not good. We are expecting that there may be voter apathy. People will not come out. But we are hoping that with all that INEC has done, preparing, maybe voters are seeing that INEC is, serious this time around, with organizing, putting everything in place, materials have been deployed and all of that. With the issue of logistics, hopefully by tomorrow, the vehicles will be on ground and they will move early. It's good that they've deployed to the racks. So maybe with what INEC is doing on ground, maybe we'll expect a different outcome. But from the survey's report, really,
things don't look good.
Things don't look good.
Oh, that's sad. Let me come back to Dr. Aisha Abdullahi. Talking about voter apathy and the factors that are driving it, there seems to be a lot of focus on the electoral body, INEC, and this is a litmus test for them, one of the off-cycle elections, Edo State. But do you think that we are focusing too much on INEC and leaving others outside of this conversation? For instance, Amina mentioned the candidates' quality. And I recall Professor Lumumba, the Pan-Africanist, saying very recently that we elect the worst of us to lead us. Is that a conversation that we have not had enough, perhaps to boost the confidence and the trust of the people in the electoral process, other than looking at INEC's preparation every election cycle to drive voter confidence?
Well, thank you very much. I think this is a very important conversation that we must continue to have. In addition to what Amina said on the issue of the quality of candidates, I think we are putting too much pressure and attention on INEC and leaving the main actors behind. The politicians, the political actors, they need these votes more than anybody. What are they doing to do voter education to the electorate? For example, we have been to elections in Nigeria where I see a lot of wasted, damaged votes because the electorate, in some cases, do not know how to thumbprint at the appropriate place, at the appropriate box. And this is not just the work of INEC or the National Orientation Agency, but also the work of the political parties. I think the political parties must wake up and begin to see these votes, that these votes are very important for them, and they should spend their time, their energy, and their resources on educating the electorate on how to vote, and not just leave it to INEC and the civil society and other actors. On the quality of the candidates, this is also a very dicey one, because as we are talking about the quality of the candidates, we are also talking about the political actors using material incentives to attract votes, rather than basing their campaigns on issues. So it's a chicken and egg problem. It's not just about the quality of the political actors, but also the electorate. We have allowed ourselves to be bought over. Vote buying has been a phenomenon that we have been flagging for a long time. And now people could use the economic hardship as an example, but I keep saying this. I've seen elections in much poorer countries, but people are aware that if they don't vote in the right candidates, their problems may not be addressed. So it's very important that we continue to have this conversation on not just ensuring that we have quality candidates that will be voted in that way, but also educating the electorate that if you don't get the right people that will represent you, the suffering may continue or even get worse. It's also about the political actors also taking responsibility for voter education. It's very important. So I agree with you that this is a conversation that we must have, continue to have during and after the elections.
Epelle, you want to jump on this? The factors that will drive the decisions of the Edo voters tomorrow and ensure that they actually come out to perform their civic responsibility.
Well, I don't want to sound repetitive. One, I think we need to look at the civil society, our own space. Are we doing enough to increase voter education? Are we doing enough to support certain segments of the society that have been left behind? How many civil society organizations are working in the disability space to educate 16% of the entire population in the country? You know, now in Edo State we have 4,199 voters, eligible voters with disability. How many of them have been properly sensitized? So the civil society has a role. The security operatives, because when there is voter apathy, oftentimes it's traceable to insecurity. The security operatives, what are they doing to protect the citizenry who are going to come out to vote? There's also a natural issue. Assuming it rains, and rains heavily tomorrow, definitely the people won't want to go into the rain just to go and cast their vote. So there are issues that can also create voter apathy. There are security issues that can create voter apathy. There is uneducation on the part of civil society that can create voter apathy. There's also fear. When people are afraid, and that fear can come in several directions. It could be insecurity, it could be economic issues. It's also possible one politician who is across board. So there's a whole lot of factors, you know, and of course, some of the measures that is legally instituted by INEC. Take for instance, the issue of movement. If people don't have vehicle to go to a particular location to vote, it will be difficult for them to vote.
All right,
so
Mr. Epelle,
several issues that can contribute to voter
I hate to interrupt you, but we have, Mr. Epelle, we have some music coming from your background interrupting the conversation, but let's go on a quick break. My panelists, please stay with me. Jake has raised an important question around security. When we return from this break, we'll focus more on security ahead of tomorrow. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Arise Prime Time, and I still have my panelists with me, including Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, former Commissioner of Political Affairs, African Union, and Chairperson of YIAGA Mission. Jake Epelle, disability rights advocate. They are both in Benin City. And here in the studio in Abuja is Amina Miango, a project manager at the Center for Journalism, Innovation, and Development. Thank you so much, my panelists, for staying with us. So before that break, we're talking about issues and factors that would drive these elections tomorrow. And Mr. Jake Epelle did mention security. And I wanted to bring it into the studio for Amina, because she had a detailed report on the perception of voters ahead of the elections in Edo tomorrow and the elections coming up in Ondo State. So Amina, I was going through your report and I saw that respondents did talk about losing faith or lack of trust in institutions such as INEC and the judiciary. Very interesting. But I didn't see much about security. Is it that voters are confident, or are they more confident with the presence of security during elections?
Thank you very much. When we were doing the report, of course, you look at how elections have been in those states, and Edo and Ondo have generally had peaceful elections, at least in the last two election cycles in 2020 and 2016. So we felt, okay, that shouldn't really be the focus, yeah? But we after we released the report and we started having conversations around it, and then in the report also, the respondents also talked about how ballot snatching and violence will determine if they go out. that was when we realized, okay, security may be an important issue. But of course, because of the geographical location of the two states, we thought, okay, security may not really be an issue, especially with the history of peaceful elections in those two states also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Abdullahi, let me come back to you. We are having over 35,000 security officers deployed for tomorrow. It should be an abomination to hear of security breaches tomorrow, shouldn't it be?
The assurances that the DIG gave us yesterday, we look forward to peaceful, credible polls. Because people were even concerned that, look, why so many foot on the ground, 35,000 police personnel, 8,000 from other security agencies. But he was very clear. He said they didn't want to leave any stone unturned, and it's an advantage because this is an off-cycle elections. And an off-cycle election is an opportunity for them from the security agencies to give all they could to ensure that things do not deteriorate during this election that we are preparing for tomorrow. So we hope that the assurances given will actualize tomorrow. We hope also that the peaceful people of Edo State will not just come out to exercise their franchise, but do it in a very civil and mature manner and ensure that their votes count. So this is our expectation for tomorrow.
Epelle, it's one thing to have expectations, it's another thing to have reality. What are the pitfalls that these agencies must avoid tomorrow? Talking about the security personnel, INEC, in fact, even civil society organizations, perhaps even the voters themselves. Are there pitfalls you have seen in the past elections that we must avoid tomorrow?
Well, politicians who are determined to throw spanners in the works feels that is a group of politicians that think that power belongs to them and they want to keep it forever. Again, it's also important for the security operatives and the police, all the security personnel, to ensure that they are neutral in their decision, in the actions that they will carry. This idea of federal might trying to play out in a local, by local, I mean a state election, must be something that the security operatives must forget. They are not here. Yes, sometimes it's necessary to, so to speak, you show their power, their might, the use of force, show of force. But however, make sure that you don't use that against a particular opponent that you are biased, you have biases towards, and thereby creating unnecessary tension. They have to understand that the people knows the people that they want to vote, the person that they want to vote. And if we try to impose candidates that are unpopular, candidates that obviously the people knew that they did not vote for, it will create more chaos, it will create more anarchy. And that's not what we're expecting tomorrow. We expect that the police will be show the people that truly the police and conduct themselves in the most honorable manner. I know Frank. Frank has been a friend for a very long time. Frank can be very objective and thorough, and I think he should bring that to play. as long as they protect everybody, as long as they are neutral, as long as they don't intimidate and force people and, you know, try to play partiality, we will have a peaceful election. And really and truly, the state is calm. There's been no one incident or the other. Hopefully that tomorrow the calmness will continue and we will have a peaceful, credible election. And I think one of the panelists did mention, or I think it was you, Adeswa, that talked about people losing confidence in the system, especially in the electoral process and the umpire. That is true. Some people still believe that INEC will not do the right thing. You know, some people still believe that there's no point going out to waste their time casting their vote. And it's those people that I want to address tonight, that if you leave them to do whatever they want to do, we will have a failed system. We will have a failed state. Come out, be confident in yourself, let's be optimistic, and we will get this process right. That is why people like myself and several others, television stations like Arise, have been working hard to hold people accountable and to ensure that they do it. We will get there if we are confident and if we trust in ourselves and our system, we will get a credible election one day. Indeed. And that day can be tomorrow.
And hopefully it is tomorrow, Jake Epelle. Thank you for that optimism. It was actually Amina's report that highlighted the erosion of trust in the systems or in the agencies, so to say, INEC and the judiciary particularly. So, Amina, I wanted to ask you, because another thing your report highlighted and other civil society organizations have brought to the fore ahead of this election is misinformation and the role of social media. Speak to us about that. What did you find out? What is the perception of the Edo people ahead of this election?
Okay, so one of the things we found out was that most people get their election information from social media. And also we found out that people have a 57% trust in the reports that they get, whether from social media, generally from the media, you know, and it's if that is the case, then we need to work overtime to purify the kind of information that goes out there. The thing is, most people get information, even outside of elections, most people get their information from social media. So what can we do to put things in place to purify the kind of information that people get from social media? That's why Dubawa, CJID has the Dubawa platform where we are fact-checking information that comes out of this election to ensure that everything that goes out there is the real factual information. And also the Nigerian Coalition on Fact Checkers, which Dubawa is also a member, are also working overtime to ensure that whatever information that is put out there is actually the factual thing. And it is done in time to, the facts are brought in time so that the misinformation or disinformation does not carry over and becomes the issue. You see, one of the issues that, one of the things that disinformation causes is even the electoral institutions are not, you know, they don't survive it. For example, when you look back at what happened in 2023 and during the court cases where judges were being harassed online, even information from INEC was twisted and all that. So misinformation is a very serious issue in elections, and we'll keep working over time to see that every information that goes out there is the truth.
Okay, Dr. Abdullahi, misinformation is a challenge for electoral processes around the globe. Increasingly, even in the US election, we are seeing the role of fake news and misinformation. Amina's organization has highlighted that it is the perception of Edo people that, they rather rely on social media. And the challenge with that is the proliferation of fake news. You had mentioned earlier that YIAGA Africa will be conducting like a parallel collation of the results with your system, which you have deployed in past elections. But would you also be fact-checking this election? And how serious is the issue of misinformation on ground in Edo State ahead of this election tomorrow?
Well, as you've rightly said, fake news has become a big issue, not only in Nigeria, but in the world because of the social media. But most importantly, I think we must highlight the fact that INEC has the IREV portal, which they've done some simulations, and we expect the portal to work for public viewing. We'll continue to encourage people to rely on what INEC is projecting on the IREV portal, in addition to the Form EC8A that will be pasted in the polling units. This is very important. Once you see the clear figures from INEC and in a timely manner, most of this fake news or rumors could be dispelled once the IREV portal functions and information is being viewed by the public in a timely manner. But as we refer to us as YIAGA, we'll continue to do our work. And really, as per security issues, violence and all, usually from our experience, on the election day, everything goes well. Problems begin with results management. When results are not managed properly, then that's where rumors start, fake news, and then people do what they do on the social media. Once the results are managed very well by the empire, the likelihood of fake news, rumor mongering taking over the space is reduced. This is actually my take on this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullahi. Mr. Epelle, INEC is not just about conducting elections. I mean, the process doesn't end until a winner is declared. Unfortunately, these days in our election cycle, we see that the judiciary actually completes that process. So as we go into this election tomorrow, and with all the skepticism around INEC's ability to deliver such a credible, fair, transparent election, what must the electoral body do to ensure that it is changing that narrative in light of what Dr. Aisha, Abdullahi, and Amina had mentioned around fake news and managing election results, which is about the final stage of this process?
Thank you very much, Adeswa. I think it's time we become a little bit more proactive, even in managing information. If INEC is telling us that they don't know that these things will happen and take precautionary measure to ensure that they don't happen. Let me take, for instance, by now, INEC should be talking to Facebook and the ex-Twitter or former Twitter, all the social media outlets that have their feed in Nigeria. How do you help us if we alert you that a particular information that is trending is fake? Can you help us to take it down immediately? That's proactive communication. Being able to know when something is wrong and provide the right answer. So INEC has that responsibility. And there are also a couple of individuals now that are within the civil society space that are providing this kind of services. They need to be encouraged, but the basic thing to do is to take down information that are not real. A miscommunication, misinformation, take them down. Now, the simple thing that most of them, INEC, civil society can do is to have an eagle eyes. Once information that is wrong is trending, get the right thing out. It will trend. If you follow the wrong path and you feed that wrong path with the right information, people will easily let go the wrong path. I'll give you an instance. Growing up, I'm a person with albinism. There are countless myths around albinism that people believe, including the lies that persons with albinism shouldn't take edible salt. It became entrenched. Even the most educated in this country was running with that narrative. And when we started our campaign, we immediately addressed it, because you see, to debunk lies, you need to tell the truth. To debunk lies, you need to tell the truth. Keep telling the truth. So there's a need to counter those wrong narratives, to counter those misinformation. Counter misinformation with information, with the right information. Over a period of time, it will become a thing of the past. So INEC must take proactive steps in engaging social media operatives. And also it's important, like a couple of individuals that have been mentioned, individual organizations that have been mentioned on this show that are in this space, they need to be properly educated. And I can tell you for free that if they reach out to the likes of Facebook, to the likes of X, Twitter, and assist them in this direction, they will get that assistance.
Indeed. Okay.
But if we keep quiet,
yeah,
INEC can release a result, and a very wicked politician releases another result. And I can tell you that one will be pushed by his own constituency.
All right.
And before you know it, it becomes an information that is trending.
I like how you qualify it, a very wicked politician. As we wrap up this conversation, I'd like to ask you, Amina, we have seen in our election cycles the issue of vote buying. Was that a perception that was shared by the Edo voters ahead of this election during your survey?
Oh yeah. So we're looking at vote buying as something that will happen on election day. So we have another survey that will handle those issues that will come up on election day, and and other issues like security and other things. Also, civil society, the role of civil society, and all of that. So that will handle will come post-election.
Post-election.
Yes.
Okay. Very quickly, Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, vote buying and vote selling. Is this something that we're likely to see tomorrow?
We might see it, but yesterday when we interacted with the police, they were very clear that they are on ground to arrest anybody coming to campaign around the polling stations and units, and anybody attempting to sell or buy votes. Okay. Because until we fight impunity, people do these things and they don't get caught, they are not punished, and that is why it perpetuates. But we were assured by the police today that if they catch anybody partaking in these malpractices, that they will arrest and prosecute the people involved. We hope it will happen tomorrow. But most importantly, because this may be my my final words, I see that time is against us. We are doing this election in September. It's the time of rainfall. So I call on the Edo people to brave the rain, get their raincoats ready, carry their umbrellas, and exercise their franchise. Also, it was very clear when we interacted with security agencies. Okay. There are very clear warnings that only accredited observers
should be allowed,
and officials, local police
will not be allowed.
By whatever name they are called, and vigilantes keep off the voting places.
Indeed. Dr. Aisha, thank you so much. You're very right. We're against time. Mr. Epelle, in 20 seconds, your final words.
The soul of Edo people will be on the ballot, and make sure that you vote with your conscience, vote the right person. The only time you have power is tomorrow with that vote. Once you vote them, you have given them that power. So vote the right person. Refuse to be bribed.
All right.
And don't bribe anyone. The police yourself, don't take the money that you're trying to stop others from taking.
Thank you very much. My panelists, Epelle, Dr. Aisha, Abdullahi for YIAGA. I must thank you all very much. We'll keep our tabs on Edo State tomorrow. Thank you. Stay safe in Benin City. And thank you for coming as well. But that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do keep it here on the Rise News for our special coverage of the Edo State governorship election. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching.